Hi, welcome back everyone. Today we are going to see an interesting topic, that is intramyelinic edema, which is a known unknown. We have already seen, we all of us know what is cytotoxic edema, what is vasogenic edema. So let us see what is this intramyelinic edema. So to understand this intramyelinic edema, let us see the basic uh, pathophysiology. How does it occur and what exactly happens in intramyelinic edema? These are the neurons, myelinated neurons, and these are the glial cells, and this is the free diffusion of water molecules, which this is the normal brain which occurs in the normal tissue. So this is a normal brain, free diffusion of water molecules. What is this? This is vasogenic edema, because the cells are normal in size and lot of water has come out of the cells or the other source from the blood vessels, leading to vasogenic edema. And what is this? You can see the water molecules are less and the cells are swollen, leading to cytotoxic edema. This results in diffusion restriction because of lot of restriction of water molecules. Here there is still persistence of free water molecule movement. And this is what we are going to speak today, is the swollen myelin sheath. Here you can see the myelin sheath is completely normal in size, and here you can see it is swollen in its entire neuron. This is called as intramyelinic edema. So let us see what is intramyelinic edema, what happens. This is a cross section of axon, and these are the inner loop of cell process of oligodendrocyte. The oligodendrocyte forms layers around the axon to make it a myelinated fiber or a myelinated neuron. So this is the inner loop and this is the outer loop which surrounds the axon. The cell process of the oligodendrocyte surrounds the axon to form the inner loop and outer loop, and the space are surrounding the axon is called as periaxonal space. And these are the major and minor dense lines. Major dense line is nothing but the fusion of outer membranes, inner membranes, whereas the minor dense lines are nothing but the fusion of outer membranes of the cell process of oligodendrocyte. So this is the diagrammatic representation. So this is the normal axon showing the normal minor and major dense lines, and this is what happens in intramyelinic edema. You can see the fluid which is occurring within the minor dense line, that which is also called as intraperiod line. We call it as intramyelinic edema. So this is one of the hypotheses of reversible intramyelinic edema. In case of chemical toxicity like vigabatrin or phenytoin or few other drugs, there is always a high release of glutamate at the site of receptors and leading to exocytose or toxic injury, which leads to swelling of the myelin sheath, which I have shown in the previous slide, that is the intramyelinic edema. So this is an example of another intramyelinic edema which occurs in diffuse axonal injury. There is a cytotoxic as well as intramyelinic edema due to injury, which results in leakage of glutamate, again results in the swelling of the myelin sheath. So what is intramyelinic edema? It is a non-neurotoxic edema in the virtual space, that is the myelin sheath or intramyelin cleft, which is characterized on imaging by diffusion restriction. And the periventricular white matter and the splenium have a higher metabolism, hence these regions are more susceptible for intramyelinic edema. So there are two types, that is completely reversible is one type, and the another type is incompletely reversible or partially reversible. So let us see what is completely reversible, which is edema only in the intramyelinic cleft. So various other causes like vigabatrin associated macular myelinopathy, spectrum of reversible splenial lesions of corpus callosum, like this is the transient splenial lesions, and phenylketonuria. And another classic example of intramyelinic edema is the maple syrup urine disease. And partially reversible or irreversible intramyelinic edema is nothing but, along with intramyelinic edema, there is an associated intracellular edema of astrocyte, intracellular edema of axon, as well as intracellular edema of the oligodendrocyte. So it's nothing but the cytotoxic edema plus intramyelinic edema. So these are the various causes of partially reversible or irreversible types of intramyelinic edema. So once I was starting to prepare this small short video, I have seen a lot of articles, case reports on intramyelinic edema. So you can see it in cases of maple syrup urine disease, like isoniazid induced chronic inflammatory demyelinating polyneuropathy, and various other causes like traumatic brain injury, transient splenial lesions. You can go and read these two journals which concentrate on the intramyelinic edema as well as other types of edema. This is a recent journal, Imaging Patterns of Toxic and Metabolic Brain Disorders in RSNA. And this is another old EPOS, that is the ESA poster, which was published in 2013, which is again a very good presentation of intramyelinic edema. Thank you all.